Very weird.
T3 Media.
Through the media.
We're gonna do a little Loki talk, guys. If you guys, I don't know if you guys have caught up to you guys said you caught up to this latest episode.
Yeah, I've seen 3 twice now already.
Me too.
Ariana, I would expect Ariana would have seen it like 13 times by now. It's been 12 hours. I mean, I'm telling you, like, guys, follow her on TikTok because when I say she puts on a Loki clinic, I'm telling you guys. I mean, she's teaching people how to look like Loki, how to think like Loki.
I am. I've got it all covered.
What did you think about this latest episode? We'll try to not make it spoiler heavy for the first half of it, and we'll probably get into spoilers a little bit later. But your thoughts about this latest episode of Loki? What do you think? To the expert, to the variant herself, what do you think?
Well, I won't lie. I'm not 100% happy with it. I can't
saying the same thing. He said he did not like it.
It was a bit slower than the first 2, which is fine because there was some character development there. But with it come with the role of Sylvie, and then magic is so inconsistent. It feels even within the episodes and in the MCU. But as an episode, I saw the significance of it. I think they could have done a little bit more. I think it would have been nice to maybe flash to the TVA just a little bit more as well in the episode, because it felt like this episode just went a completely different direction than the first 2. I feel like the timeline stuff was completely forgotten about, except for the thing with the device. I can't remember it, but other than that, I don't know. I just felt like this episode could have given us a little more than it did. But and I know, not spoiler heavy. I don't feel like this is a spoiler though. But the confirmation of Loki's sexuality was very important, appreciated episode. So I'm happy about that.
Was it Loki? Was it Lady Loki's sexuality, or was it Loki himself sexuality? I can't remember. Did I gloss over that part? I remember they were having the conversation. I think it was at one point. It was like, you have a person waiting for you at home or something like that. Is it a lady? Is it a prince or a princess or something like that? That's the thing you're talking about?
Yeah, Loki. Well, technically both of them, because he did say, "I assume the same for you," but
right.
One who said a little bit of both. Yeah.
And that's canon from the comic book. Loki is he gay in the comic book?
He's bisexual in the comics.
Ooh, okay. I didn't know this. See, let's teach you something new every day. But you know what? I'm not gonna lie. And when it came up, I thought that makes sense to me. I had no feeling one way or the other on it. I just feel like Loki would be like an open person. Like he seems like he's such a phony. He's a sensitive dude, and he loves love. He pretends like he doesn't have feelings. But he is an open heart. So I wasn't surprised that he would be open for any type of love that would come his way. So when that scene happened, I wasn't surprised. I'm like, because he's that whole tough guy act and stuff, wanting to kill his brother. He's just hating.
I think he's portrayed like that, like the classic character Loki in Norse mythology. I think runs along those lines too. But I didn't know that, Ariana, because like I've never seen in the comic books, like he's never had a relationship with anyone. Have I missed that?
No, you're correct. And not with in the comics, not the man either. No, there have been instances where he was flirty with other male characters, but he was never with a guy.
Okay.
So
I just didn't know. It's interesting because this was not my favorite episode either. And I actually felt like it could have been shortened because honestly, like just without spoiling anything, I felt like hopefully this isn't too much of a spoiler, but like they spent 45 minutes or 36 minutes was the runtime, I think, outside the credits, basically running around looking for a battery. And I'm thinking, what is happening here? But I completely agree with Ariana. What I noticed from this episode is that when you remove the TVA from the story, or at least the way this episode was built, it is not as interesting. So I agree with you, Ariana. I think the character building was good, but even that to me felt this felt like a filler and a setup episode for other stuff. And you may have heard other folks say that, and I totally agree. I actually think this could have been 30 minutes, and they could have chopped some of this down, and it could have been 30 minutes and given it a little more punch. But I'm thinking, man, yeah, you guys basically ran around looking for a battery for 45 minutes, and then so
you guys don't think, and guys, we're in the spoiler territory of this conversation. Do you guys think that whole situation where, I swear to you, I thought it was going to be a trick when Loki presented the device that she was asking for, and when he showed it to her broken? I thought that was a trick. I thought that might have been an illusion. Another thing that I thought might be an illusion was this whole episode when she attempted to get into his mind and it didn't work. I was thinking at the end of the episode, I was like, maybe it did work. Maybe this whole thing is a setup. But then that reveal didn't happen. So, or will it? In the next episode, we don't know. It seems to be real, but I don't know. I feel like we got two Lokis on screen. It was very trickery. But you guys bring up a real good point. I didn't think about it now until, because I liked this episode. I thought it was I'm not gonna say it was the best episode. Honestly, scenes with Loki and with Tom Hiddleston and Owen Wilson just talking all day. I can watch a whole hour of that because those two have a great back and forth. But you're right. Without the TVA really being in there, it didn't really feel like this episode fit with the first two that we got. It was noticeable when Owen Wilson wasn't there. It was.
I do feel like this episode is a setup, but I think that the big area of interest for a lot of people in this show, whether you're a big fan of the source material or not, is what is going on with the TVA. So, and when you take that out, it's not as interesting. But I don't think that this episode was necessarily unnecessary, because I understand kind of it may have been foundational as we move forward, but folks want to know what's going on with the TVA. At least that's what I think. So
you're right. And any theories? I don't know, Ariana. I don't know if you said you had any theories about anything or not. But I presented it on social media because the timeline, the sacred timeline is throughout the entire universe. But everything in the TVA seems to be dealing with humans and humanoid type of people. Where are all these humans coming from? I'm sure it's because of a low budget on a TV show, but there seems to be no aliens at all in the TVA. But yet the timeline is for the entire universe. And wherever they are in the timeline, where's all this oxygen coming from? That was my other theory. Why is it that there's so much oxygen, a rare element throughout the universe, and it's everywhere? Seems to be on every planet in the TVA. There's no aliens. What's going on? I know Loki is technically an alien, but what the hell? I need answers, Ariana, and I know you got them.
That's a good point. Everything seems to be too perfect when it comes to TVA. And yeah, we didn't get much in terms of like what happens after they bomb the sacred timeline. But now we know that all of the workers are variants. It just makes you wonder, like, what I haven't decided who I think the main villain is. I'm easily persuaded for all conversations. I know a lot of people have brought up Kang, which I could definitely see, but I don't know. At the same time, I really don't know. But that's a good point about where are all of the other
beings.
Where's the extraterrestrial life? I don't know. But something else you said earlier about the tempad being broken or not, I think it's an illusion. I still do. Because after I finished the episode for the second time, I was like, where did all of Loki's manipulation go? Like, when did he just become this super soft character all of a sudden? And then I thought back to when it said that both of the variants stall for time. I think he's definitely stalling for time. I think he might have a plan that he is waiting for all of the pieces to fall into place, but I do not think that tempad is broken. I'm almost certain that is an illusion. And I also think he has purposely shared information about himself to Sylvie because she's starting to open up a little bit more. I'm sure everything he said about his mom was genuine,
Yeah.
but he knew that it would soften her a little bit because she shared that she never really had a mom around. So I still think that there's more that meets the eye with what the main Loki variant is doing. At least I'm hoping. Maybe it's just me coping for how I feel about that episode, but I definitely think that there's a plan he has that still needs something to happen. I think maybe he's waiting for someone to come, or I don't know. Like, I know in the trailers we've seen him with a sword. I don't know if that's related to how they might get off of Lamentis, but I do not think that tempad is broken.
Oh, go ahead.
You know what? So now you've made me think, Ariana. That's an interesting point. It could all be an illusion. And now I'm thinking about the first part of that episode, and I can't remember what Sylvie says to him, but I believe he says this to her right before they fall through that portal. Something to the effect of "I need you," and then they kind of fall through to Lamentis.
Yes,
and that could be that could be the start of the illusion. And him really just kind of poking around in her head, trying to find out information. So
your theory is Loki figured out how to get into her head using her, or
yeah,
are you saying is she in his head?
No. I think that he could be in her head, and her going through, or them falling into and through the portal into Lamentis is all an illusion of his creation. But to her, because they've been hopping through portals, she doesn't pick it up that she's that she's part of an illusion. She's just going through a portal like she always has, but it's not what she's normally gone through. Loki has done this, and he's using this to get information from her. I just thought about that when Ariana made when she talked about what she talked about, and I remembered that line, and I was like, oh. Wow.
It would make sense because Loki did do a lot of studying on disasters and all, and so based on all that library work that he did in the previous episode, he would have known to create that illusion for that planet that they landed in and create that whole thing.
I just want to make a quick comment. I'm sorry, Chris, about the TVA and why I don't think you don't see any other beings in there outside of the TVA agents and Loki, and that's because I think that primarily when people come through that zone, they're there for some reason. Maybe they went off the timeline and they were brought there, but everybody else in the TVA they're either variants. Or not, so you don't typically see other beings in there. You saw like a scroll, I think, in like
scroll.
Super Soups brought that up and said, "Hey, there was a scroll." I'm like, right. Yeah, an air breathing scroll. Good,
right?
Yeah.
but so I think that just from what we've seen for story purposes is probably why you haven't seen other stuff, and who knows how stuff works. And the TVA, supposedly, Ariana, you can confirm this if I'm wrong, but supposedly the TVA, or the theory is the TVA is in the quantum realm. So who knows what's going on? And the variants probably don't even need to breathe air. The variants are not human. At least I don't think they are. We think they look like humans, but they're not humans.
That's
from
true.
what I So,
but you know what? You bring up something else. There was another theory from, I forgot where I saw this one. It might have been TikTok. But someone said that their theory is that if you are a variant and you go into the TVA, if you're an alien from another, let's say you're a lizard person, a slug, or whatever kind of an alien, when you go into the TVA, you see everybody that you talk to as similar to what you look like.
That could be.
That's an easy way to explain it. If Marvel wanted to take that easy way out, like whatever you are or whatever you're mentally used to seeing naturally is what you will see in the TVA. Everybody's a slug person, everybody's a bird, everybody's whatever the variant is. That's a simple way to that's a clever way to explain it.
Wouldn't Loki, I mean, he's a frost giant. So how does that explain seeing
in the
other
middle of me
humans?
saying it, I was thinking that, but because he was raised with the Asgardians, so he would see.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I have a friend who's bilingual. He's Puerto Rican. He speaks Spanish. Spanish was his first language. But then when he came to where my neighborhood where we both grew up in, He was, he was bilingual. He is bilingual. He still speaks Spanish. But I remember when we were teens and up to our 20s, I remember having a conversation with him. I said, I heard something interesting about bilingual people, that you will dream in the language that you default to. And I asked him, I said, so what language do you dream in? And he said, I used to dream in Spanish, but now I dream in English. So it's like, I think because of what Loki's used to, I think he would just see a bunch of humans. That's just my theory. If that theory is real, right? we could just be barking up a tree that ain't even there right now. But go ahead.
I was also thinking now I'm thinking that my theory about Loki controlling her is wrong. And the reason I say that now is because they would have had to have gone through that portal. That would have had to have been real, because they can't use their magic.
Yeah.
All right.
Tries to use hers on that guard.
I'm thinking everything after they went into that portal, because she made contact with him. She walked up to him slowly. Right. And I'm sorry to be a weirdo. I'm the weirdo of the panel. I'm gonna just admit it. I thought they were gonna kiss. I'm sorry.
No, thank you for bringing that up, because I have felt unsettled by that whole episode. I don't know what the writers are setting up for, but if it's what I'm thinking, I'm not liking it.
Now, this was brought up on the John Campia show. Like, if you, we're gonna get into that. All right, buckle in, guys. We're about to get weird. So if you are in a different timeline or a different dimension and you bump into yourself, you fall in love with this. I read a book called The Man Who Folded Himself that went through this similar thing. Is that like kissing your brother or your sister, is like ancestor, or is that like touching or kissing yourself? What are your thoughts before we move on to the next topic? I'll let you decide, Al. Go for it. You go first.
Well, I think, first of all, I think it's weird. Yeah, if it's yourself, I do think that's weird. But I still think I am not sure. Mm-hmm. And I know this might be divergent. So if you disagree with me, let me know. I'm still not sold that Sylvie is a variant. If she is Sylvie from the comics, who doesn't really is not really in there much. Marvel didn't do much with her, but she is not. Loki would have created her, but I guess that could technically make her a variant. Or is she Enchantress? I'm not sure. And Marvel is famous for red herrings, for leading us down one path and then switching on us. Well, so I
heard that in other countries on Disney Plus that the credits revealed her. Was it Sylvie before we knew it was Sylvie, or did they reveal her as Enchantress on the credit? I heard that because here in America, in the credits it said variant. It said she's playing a variant. But in other countries, people were calling into the John Campia show and was like, no, in my country, it says Sylvia, or it says Enchant, or it says this and that. So it's like, what is going on? I'm glad you brought that up, Al. So do you think it's Enchantress?
I personally think we don't know. And like I said, Marvel was very good at the bait and switch. They did a lot of that in WandaVision too. And we all had these theories and none of them came true. At least none of mine did. That's true.
Well, one of my theories did come true. I felt like everybody in the TVA were variants, and that was proven today. Okay, so I'm gonna let the Loki expert close out. Final thoughts, real quick, Ariana. So you said overall.
Real quick. Oh no.
Final thoughts for this episode overall.
Okay. Final thoughts overall. I mean, I feel like I said at the beginning, but just jumping off of what Al said really fast, I'm not completely convinced that she's a variant either. And there's one thing she said. This is our closing thought. It'll be our closing thought. I'm not trying to open a can of worms, but. When they were talking about how she learned her enchanting powers, she said, I taught myself. And in the comics, Loki gives Sylvie the powers of Amora the Enchantress. Now that could be a play on words. She said, I taught myself. And it's telling Loki that she's a Loki variant. There could be another Loki that taught her those powers. Because she said is, I taught myself.
Oh, I got to follow this up. Can I?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Ariana, because
we're already over time. Let's go. Let's hear it.
So it's funny you bring up a good point, because it is interesting if she said that she taught herself, and I remember her saying that. So in the comics, the big thing is Loki creates her and he gives her those abilities, but she does not have a teacher like Loki's mom was to him. In the comics, when you see her using a lot of her stuff, most of that stuff is self-taught. She did not have the guidance of like a Doctor Strange. So it could be that she is that character.
The way you guys said that, I didn't notice it until you just brought it. I taught myself. And with all these variants, that could have meant literally, or it could have been literally on another level. Another Loki taught me. I feel like what this
what I'll say is true though. She did teach herself, but I do feel like I'm still holding out on King Loki. You know, I'm expecting him, and I think that's where she came from. She didn't just appear out of nowhere.
It cut out for a second. You said you were holding out for King Loki.
Yes.
Okay.
Which is like the classic or evil version of Loki. We see an agent of Asgard, and oh man, what was I going to say? The other reason I think that is because she said she's been running from the TVA her entire life. So that means I'm not sure what her entire life means to her. I'm assuming she had a chance to grow up. I'm assuming time is weird with the show, we already know. But I feel like that leads to even further evidence that she was created by Loki, or given those powers by a Loki variant we haven't met yet.
That would make sense because people are speculating her being a female Loki technically would be a variant from birth. So technically, the TVA should have handled that the second she was born, if she was naturally born. That's a lot of people's theories right there. Like, hey, Loki's supposed to be male in this timeline, in the main timeline that we're trying to protect. So we have a female Loki over here. So from birth, she should have been handled. So maybe she wasn't born. Maybe she was created or something like, or given her powers later, and she adopted the name. There's a lot of theories that's going on.
Yeah, there's so many possibilities.
There's so many.
Yeah.
I'm still hoping out for the kissing. I'm just gonna say it. I just want to see it happen to make Ariana. I want her to go
going
crazy.
To ruin it.
See, look at her mind. Boom. You don't want any romance between these two variants, huh? Okay.
I don't think it's gonna happen,
Ariana.
I don't think it's gonna happen.
Weird. No.
I just think if Thor found out, he'd be like, really, Loki? I think it would just be a funny conversation. Can you imagine what Rocket Raccoon would say?
Ooh. Oh, that'd be hilarious.
Oh my gosh, that would be funny. That would be funny.
Question is, guys, let us know what you guys think about the whole episode 3 of Loki on Disney Plus. I thought it was pretty good. I agree with these guys for the most part. It didn't. I missed Owen Wilson. I'll just say it like that. But put your thoughts in the box below, and we'll talk about it some more on We Got Your Mail, maybe. So let me go into the final topic of...
Our supporters help make all this content possible, so make sure you check out our Patreon page so you can help us bring you the content you want.
Push the pedal to the freaking metal. I'm turned up just like heavy metal. Yo. Turned up on another level. Push the pedal to the freaking metal. I'm turned up just like heavy metal.